perspective into the conversation. Neil, we're grateful that you're joining us this evening. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to contribute into the program.
Great. So it's a talk about the numbers versus the potential quality that will be reaped from the numbers that we've been able to add on. In fact, about 29,000 students extra have been added on from the 2019 figure of senior high school WASSCE, applicants and so on. From where you sit, is there any merit at all in the argument that says that 2 billion Ghana cedis to add 29,000 in the words of the people who front that argument wasn't worth it?
Good. Different educational scholars have raised different arguments as to what investment is to be put into education. Okay, and in some of the arguments, some scholars have questioned, or if you like, have posited that if you have 100 Ghana cedis, for example, would you rather train 10 people to the topmost level, or you would train 50 people all at the lower level with 100 Ghana cedis that you have? So the argument has gone either way. Okay, but then looking at the resource constraints of the country, you want to find out that whatever you put into your educational investment, you will be able to make benefits that would inure to the development of the country. So if 29,000 more have been enrolled, and these are not 29,000 more who are adding on to university, but have been added on to the number of students, then you want to ask yourself that what's the game plan? Because we always have to look at the big picture. Okay, if it's just about enrolling students into school, then I don't see where it takes us as a country to, and for the amount of money that we've invested into. But what is the big picture? How many professionals are we going to turn out of those numbers? How many of those numbers are going to enter into employment, for instance, 2 years after completion of their program? For which reason we can say that we're going to have value for money? So those analyses ought to be made.
Making that particular analysis will point us to the sort of contact hours that the students had in class with their tutors. We are seeing a reduction. In fact, in some, when you look at the double track and the things that came with it all together, some sort of reduction for them. But when you talk about these final years who are sitting the exams, the sort of contact hours that they had, having been truncated by COVID-19 and writing the exams with the sort of understanding that we are at risk of contracting the virus, knowing very well that some of their friends in other schools and so on have contracted the virus. Isn't it, very clear handwriting on the wall for us?
It's so clear, and there's no other way to argue this issue out, that at this very moment you can say that most of these students are not in the right mental frame. Psychologically, they are not in the right frame for exams, because we all know, particularly in our part of the world where exams becomes a World Cup, it becomes a do or die affair. When you are not in the right frame of mind, then you know what to expect. Even when you're in the right frame of mind, high-spirited, and you have prepared adequately, you don't know what the examinations turn out to be. And usually when you look at the way examinations are conducted in our part of the world, it's an attempt to fail people and to prove to them that, hey, you people haven't learned enough. So psychologically, I can tell you that the students in school are not in the right frame of mind. And this argument has ranged on, even beyond the shores of Ghana, to other West African countries, where other countries have withdrawn from the exams because they think that the environment is not right, it's not conducive for the students to go back to school and to write the exam, so they've withdrawn.
will this not blur the impressions that we have about the outcome of the free senior high school policy and the quality therein, so that just like you're talking about the psychological state of these students, it seems to be flying in the face of their preparedness and their confidence going into the examinations. In the event that peradventure they do not come out with the results that are expected, wouldn't it be difficult to be able to track and evaluate really where the shortfall will be coming from?
You see, I have been always advocated for a continuous assessment kind of examination, because we all know that at that 2-3 hours anything can happen, which shouldn't be the absolute justification for the performance of a very good student. So that if we have been diligent and have been meticulously monitored the continuous process, then we will know that this final exam shouldn't be the thing that we should solely rely on. Okay, but because we failed to do that, now we are caught in the fix, and we have to do something. And again, there is a lot of arguments out there. Come to the political direction. Okay, that it's the first batch of free SHS. Therefore, something ought to be done. And the fact that we've even seen the forceful registration of some of these students in the schools and the arguments that have ensued, gives the impression that it is more towards a certain agenda.
Well, is it forceful though? Mr. Nyama, is it forceful though, because these students, the ones that are eligible registrants, they have a right to vote, and there's a window for registration.
There's a perception out there.
Okay,
it's not conclusive. I'm saying there's a perception out there. There's an argument out there, and we can't tend to give a blind ear to what is being said out there. So I'm saying that looking at the trajectory of what has taken us ensued up to this level, then you want to say that, look, you say that if we have kept a very good record, a continuous assessment record, then that becomes a good justification. Because, there are situational analysis that ought to be considered. So that if we have done what we are supposed to have done, then in this situation we say that per the situational analysis, this is the
performance of the students.
The performance of the students per their continuous assessment. Therefore, we can look at this. But if we have not done that strictly, then we have to find other ways to justify our reason for passing a student. Okay, and a lot of things have come up there. But here we find ourselves in the situation. So what do we do? But and there have been instances. Okay, again, it's a situational analysis thing. There have been instances where students' performance at the final exam generally has not been good. So then there is a reason to say that then let's lower
the bar,
the scheme in order to meet certain performances. So we'll see how these things will turn out. But a little point I want to raise with the 29,000 is just the number of students in the SHS. Don't forget that there are students who have receipts, and they also come in a certain percentage. Maybe they failed math, English, or those other core subjects which do not qualify them to. They have to write the receipt. So we're looking at when will that timetable be out. And then we have those who also do the A levels, who also enters into the university system. Okay, so they are in a certain percentage. And then you also have another percentage of international students who also enroll into our university system. Okay, so it's not just the 29,000 that we're looking here. But if you expand these percentages, then you'll be looking at something from between 40,000 and 50,000.
Right. Great. I want us to wrap it up by touching briefly on the very regrettable yet realistic possibility of some of the students contracting COVID-19, even in the space of writing the exam. Now, in the event that any of them, contracts the virus and are in isolation or in quarantine, as you would have it, what would be your recommendation to the exams council for contingencies and other alternative arrangements for the students to write the exam, bearing in mind their safety?
Interesting. I mean, these are very good questions that we all ought to pose to the policymakers that what they're going to do, and we will see what situational analysis they will come out for. Because if you force a student into school, that exam is coming up, and therefore they need to be in school, and then they go, and as a result they contract the sickness, which otherwise would have said that it's not a fault of the school, etc. But do not forget that there is an aspect of the law which says that once the children are in the care of the students, the school has absolute what do you call it?
Responsibility and liability.
Yes, liability for care, duty of care. Good. They have duty of care for those children. So that if the students contract the sickness whilst under the care of the school, then there is a problem then there is an answer for the school to provide. Okay, because they are minor and they are under the care of the school. So I wouldn't give a strict answer to this, but we will see what situational analysis that will be drawn out of this and what solutions will be given to it.
I'm grateful, Nii, that you spoke to me. Niama Ade, he's an educationist.
Thank you very much.
Shedding some light on the matter of the senior high school WASSCE examination as it's being written across the country starting this morning. Send us your thoughts.